Today, we're doing an overview of this Android head unit and going over how to wire it yourself so ultimately you can be able to do it with confidence and save a little money in the meanwhile. So let's go ahead and start. So to start with, you're going to have your user manual, and ultimately it's like what you expect. It just gives you some setting information, but really what you need out of this is your 4-digit factory code. Without it, you're going to have a real hard time setting up your unit. Next is your wiring diagram. And on the left side here, you're going to see your RCA cable. The main thing you're going to want to pay attention to is your microphone plug. If you opt for that, that's where you plug it in. Now overall, you have your different plugs and your plugins, as you can see here. Now on all these different plugs and plugins, they have a different amount of pins for each different plug, so it's really hard to get it wrong, but in some cases you might run into that issue. Just reference this wiring diagram. It's relatively straightforward. And don't worry if you have a plug that is empty, like this one right here. Just because it has a plug doesn't mean that your vehicle needs it. Now in this case, it has a GPS antenna, which screws in right there. In some cases, you'll have a 4G antenna. This one does not, and it would plug in somewhere probably right under the GPS antenna. Now right here, you have your radio antenna adapter. It plugs in right there. Now this is your CAN bus box. You don't really need to know what it does. Long story short, it makes your car work like you want it to. Now, most of these CAN bus boxes do not have a power cable. However, this one does, and it plugs into this section here. Now, if you're not using a backup camera, don't worry about it. But if you are, this is your camera in cable that you'd be plugging into this 5-pin connector right there. If you have an existing backup camera and your vehicle came originally with an existing backup camera, most units come with a backup camera adapter cable. As you can see here, you would just be plugging this into your original plug and plugging it directly into your camera in. It's relatively simple. If you are adding a backup camera, you would be using this diagram. We're not going to be going over this in this video, but main thing you need to know, backup camera in one means or another plugs into the camera in. And this is what your radio antenna adapter looks like. If your vehicle has more than one radio antenna plugged into your stock unit, just plug in this radio antenna adapter to 1 or 2 or 3, if you have to, of those plugs, and then plug it into the back of the unit here till you start hearing the radio scroll through like you expect when you start the unit. Now, we're going to open up this box here holding the unit itself. Now, most of these units use the same basic design, having the power button, your home button, your return button, your volume up, and your volume down. Now, oddly enough, this power on button is actually for your mute. I've never really understood that, but that's what they are. And it looks exactly the same on the back here as it did in your wiring diagram. Now, let's get to some of the cables. This is the backup camera that this unit came with. Again, we're not going over that in this video. Here is one of your 2 USB plugins. Most people don't use these, but you have the option if you want to. And here is your external microphone, and this would just mount with this 3M tape here at like the top of your windshield. And you would run this wire along the headliner to the back of your unit. This is your GPS antenna. And actually, this right here would screw into the back of your unit. This is your radio antenna adapter. Some vehicles look a little bit different, but this is what this one looks like, and they pretty much all look relatively the same. Another USB, and your RCA cable with that mic plug-in. And this is that original stock backup camera adapter. This is your camera in plug that you would be attaching your backup camera plugs to. And finally, this is your power adapter. This goes into the back of your unit. And on this specific power harness, you're going to see that it has two different plugs. And this is because it has two different vehicle applications. This is actually for a GL Mercedes and an ML Mercedes. This is your canvas box, and this is your power cable for that canvas box. Now, to plug in one of these units, you're going to take your power cable, plug it over here in the power slot. You're going to take your power cable for your canvas box. I'm going to go all the way over here. Now for your RCA cable, we're going to go right here. You're going to want to make sure that all these cables plug in very firmly until you hear a click. Again, your camera in cable. Now, if you were plugging in your USB, you have a 3-pin and a 2-pin. We're not going to be using those, but in either case, you would be plugging them in right here and here. Now, just to give a demonstration, if you did have an original backup camera, you would plug this into your original cord in your car, and then you would take this and plug it into your camera in. Next is your GPS cable, and you can pretty much mount it anywhere, but you really just don't want any metal in between where you would be getting signal, aka the sky, and where you're mounting this. Now to screw this in, you go right here. I'm just going to screw that in until it's tight. Next is your radio antenna adapter. Again, you would just plug this into your radio antenna that you took out of your stock head unit and go into this green hole here. Lastly, your microphone. Again, just find the cable marked mic and plug it in there. And you should be done. The only thing, obviously, that we can't do here is that you would just plug this end into your car cable where you pulled it out of your stock head unit. And you would go about testing it, turning it on, make sure everything works. Anyway, that completes the end of this video. I hope it was very helpful. If you would, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks again for watching.